Thank you all for coming. Thank you to everyone who can't be here but is tuning into the broadcast of our service all over the world. Mourning is a difficult time filled with many emotions, often conflicting emotions, a bittersweet time where we recall someone who made us laugh, who made us smile, but also whose loss, whose death leaves a void in our lives and feelings of pain and emptiness. We begin our service, in keeping with Jewish tradition, with the chanting and recitation of a psalm, linking our beloved's life with 4,000 years of Jewish tradition, Jewish community, and the eternity of God. Our selection is the 23rd Psalm, Mizmor LeDavid, the Psalm of David. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai roi lo echsar, binoteh sheyarbitzeni al mei menuchot, yenahaleni nafshi yeshoveh, yancheni v'magalei tzedek leman shemo. Gam ki elech begates hamavet lo irara, ki ata imadi. Shivtecha umishantecha hema yenachamuni. Taroch lefanai shulchan neged sorerai. Dishanta Vashem en Roshi, Kosi Rivaya, Achto, Vachesed Yirdefuni Kol Yemei Chayai, Veshavti, Beved Adonai. A Psalm of David, Adonai, God is my shepherd, I shall not want. God makes me lie down in green pastures, leads me beside the still waters, and restores my soul. Guides me in straight paths, for that is God's nature. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a banquet for me in the presence of my foes. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and loving kindness shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of God forever. Thank you again for being here. As we gather today as friends, as a community, and as a family, to honor Sam Wilder. Yehoshua ben Yaakov v'Rachel, the son of Jack and Rose Wilder. Zichronam livracha, blessed memory. We are here today to celebrate his life, to pay tribute to his accomplishments, his lasting legacy, and to say goodbye. To fulfill the ultimate respect in Jewish tradition of accompanying a loved one to his final resting place. Sam passed away Wednesday, the 20th day in the Hebrew month of Elul. He was 83, having just celebrated his 83rd birthday last month. We join our hearts together with his family to offer them strength and courage during this painful and difficult time as they are now in mourning. His wife, Wendy, children, Lisa, Raven, and Jonathan and Kylie, his grandchildren, Megan, Mika, Matthew, Ross, and Maxwell, his brother Joe, as well as nieces, nephews, cousins, and clearly many dear friends and colleagues. Sam was predeceased by his parents, Rose and Jack, again of blessed memory, Zichronam Livracha. In a moment, we will hear a eulogy from Lisa, speaking on behalf of her brothers, on behalf of Sam's kids. As an introduction, I wanted to offer just a few comments. I feel fortunate to say I knew Sam Wilder. We spoke many times face-to-face over the years through my connection with the Shered Zedek Synagogue, where he was a past president and an active member. It was just 2 months ago at the beginning of July when we visited at a wedding at Winnipeg Beach. We laughed, we kibitzed. I thought Sam Wilder was a beauty. As his brother Joe put it when I had the honor of sitting with the family, listening to their stories about Sam, a finer mensch you could not find. Personally, he always treated me with deep respect and a friendliness like we'd known each other for far longer than we really had. I cherish that. And like most of you, I'm sure, I stand here today shocked. Shocked at how quickly his disease progressed. I thought I would get at least one more visit with him, and I'm sorry we didn't get that chance. Because talking with Sam Wilder, for me and really for everyone, was a true pleasure. He was so down to earth, salt of the earth, and so full of joy. In fact, his nephew David mentioned that Sam was the most joyful person he's ever known. Just to pause at this moment, in fact, to recognize Sam's nieces and nephews, David, Sherry, Kenny, and Joshua, who all had unique and special relationships and love for and from their Uncle Sammy. The extended Wilder family turned Passover and other holiday celebrations into the stuff of legend. Songs and singing so loud the walls shook. The incredible thrill of being together, always making memories that have lasted for decades and have kept these cousins, these families close, even living in different cities. I know I am but one person who felt this way and strongly about Sam Wilder, that he was a great guy and a pleasure to be around. He was highly regarded in all aspects of his life, as a lawyer, for sure, as a community volunteer, definitely, as a trusted friend, and above all, without question, as a family man. He embodied the same values in all aspects of his life: integrity, hard work, respect for all. He had a love for Judaism and for Israel he never shied away from sharing. He always seemed to me to be a bit of a throwback. Like I said, I knew him from being president of the Shered Zedek in the 90s. But he was living proof of the saying, as far as I'm concerned, that you can take the boy out of the north end, but you cannot take the north end out of the boy. Even to his final days, I was told he was cracking jokes in Yiddish with his brother Joe. Of course, they didn't know all of the jokes, but they knew the punchlines. He even made a speech, I'm told, when he was just 8 years old, standing on a chair at Joe's bar mitzvah, a speech completely in Yiddish, wowing the crowd. He loved Yiddish expressions, he loved jokes, almost as much as he loved the properly made burnt martini. Almost as much as he loved to sing, whether it was a rendition of Der Rebbe Elimelech in Yiddish, of course, with Joe, or early on a weekend morning, traipsing through Lisa's room, opening up her blinds, making her wake up way earlier than she ever would have wanted. I'm told Sam was a lot like his mother, Rose, that it was uncanny even. She was an immigrant from the old country, from the famous town of Mazurich in Poland. But more importantly, she loved life, loved family, and kept everyone together. There's a reason why there is a closeness with the cousins in Boston. A special shout out to them as well. Sam embodied her unofficial motto: live, love, laugh. His love for his wife, Wendy, was evident. People have remarked they could tell just by looking at Sam and watching the way he interacted with her how in love with Wendy he was. Wendy saw Sam and loved him for who he was, for his smarts, for his unwavering support of her career and her pursuits. Together, they raised their family, traveled the world, and enjoyed a terrific social life with a large group of wonderful and close friends who are here today. This love, this special Sam Wilder love, extended to his entire family, his children, his grandchildren. He had a heart of gold and forged unique relationships with everyone, always calling them, wanting to hear updates on their studies and their friends, practicing his trademark patience, and always making them feel loved. As Megan said on our call, he was just such a cute Zeta. And it's a testament to his character how many people are here and how many people have traveled from out of town to be here. Thank you again to all of you. In Jewish tradition, there is a saying, death is better than a life of pain, and eternal rest is better than a constant sickness. The last time I saw Sam was just a few weeks ago at his house, as he and Wendy were getting ready to move into their new condo. He was uncomfortable. He was struggling, and he told me he was in just too much pain. Our hope, our prayer, is that his suffering is over and that he can now be at peace. The last anecdote I'll share before turning things over to Lisa and the Hesped, the eulogy, is there's an interesting story about his Hebrew name, his Jewish name. As we were finishing our last visit, he asked me to make a Misha Berach for him. But he left the room before I could ask him what his Hebrew name was. I just assumed it was Shmuel, Samuel. But no, I was told by Wendy that his Hebrew name is Yehoshua, which seems a bit odd. There's a bit of a complicated backstory with how this came to happen, because I'm assuming with immigrant parents he was given a Jewish name first, Yehoshua. They called him by the Yiddish diminutive of this, which is Shia. And so when Joe, the older brother but the English speaker in the family, went to go name him at school, he kind of turned Shia into Shmuel into Samuel. But what's important here, at least for me, my takeaway is that it's fitting that his name is Yehoshua. Yehoshua, of course, in the Torah, in the Bible, is the man who took over for Moses. A tremendous responsibility, a tremendous leader. Someone whom God picked to succeed Moses. And why? What does it say about Yehoshua, about Joshua in the Torah when he's about to take over for Moses? God describes him as Ish Asher Ruach Bo. Translation, a man in whom there is spirit. Often in English translations of the Torah and the Bible, it will say Joshua was an inspired man. Today we would probably say he had that it factor. But I like the idea of an inspired man because Sam Wilder and the way he lived his life should be an inspiration to us all. May he rest in peace. I'll now call up Lisa, Raven, and Jonathan for the eulogy in honor of their father.
Thank you all for being here with us and holding us as we say goodbye to our dad, Samuel Isaac Wilder. Your love and support these past few months has been beyond incredible and have reminded us why there's such thing as chosen family. I'm going to do our thank yous first because my daughter Megan wanted to make sure that the last thing anybody heard about today was my dad, so that's what we left here thinking about. So I'd also like to say a special thank you right now to Cindy Gaudry and Gary Sarcida for all of your guidance in dealing with both my father's personal and professional affairs. We couldn't have done this without you. To Dr. Danick, his nurse Melanie, the team at Cancer Care and the palliative nurses, your level of care and compassion made a difference when nothing really felt that it could. A special thank you to Dorothy for being so kind and compassionate towards my parents and especially our father during these past few weeks. And thank you to all of you and all the people we reached out to for help and guidance along the way. Last and certainly not least, thank you to all of our friends, family, and chosen family. We couldn't have gotten through this time without your love, care, check-ins, meals, and overall support. How do you condense someone's life into a 10-minute eulogy and do them justice? How do you decide what's important to highlight and what isn't, especially when that person has lived a very full, purposeful, and rewarding life? Our dad grew up in the north end of Winnipeg, where he lived with his parents, Rose and Jack Wilder, and his brother Joe. He graduated from St. John's Technical High School in 1957, and from there he went to the University of Manitoba, where he graduated with his Bachelor of Arts degree in 1961, and then his law degree in 1965. I can still hear the bafflement in his voice, as well as seeing it on his face, when he talked about the difference of not only the price needed to attend law school back then, but the much lower grades that you needed to get in and stay in as well. During his time at the University of Manitoba, our father worked hard and played hard. He became involved and active in the University of Manitoba Student Union, was on the Dean's Honor List every year of law school, and received many awards. He also very fittingly joined the Sami fraternity, where he eventually became president. Actually, at one point during his time in law school, our father was adamant that he wanted to travel through Europe and Israel. The problem was that meant that he wouldn't have enough money for his fall semester and would have to defer a year. But because he was who he was, a gracious mentor felt it too important for our father to do both of those things, so told him that he would pay for his schooling with the prerequisite that he pay that money forward, staka, and do it anonymously. And that was the catalyst for two major focuses in his life: philanthropy and education. Education, by encouraging him to work so hard that he graduated from law school with the Gold Medal Award. And with regards to philanthropy, our father was well known for his generosity, not just of his time, but of his hard-earned dollars as well. It was during these years that he met our mother in November of 1964. As the story goes, he was told that there was a cute chick who had moved to Winnipeg from Portage la Prairie, and she needed a lift home from university, where she graduated with her with her degree in dental hygiene. The problem is that he didn't call her again until a Thursday in June to ask her out. And he called her to ask her out for a Saturday night, which is only 2 days later. Two things: back then you didn't do that. You gave somebody a couple weeks' notice. On top of that, and unsurprisingly, my mother already had a date for the night. But as she says, she could tell by his voice that if she didn't say yes, he wouldn't be calling back. So she went and managed to woo him over with her sewing skills of the green dress she quickly put together for the event, despite the fact that he kept pricking his fingers on all the stick pins that were holding that dress together. After obtaining his law degree, our father first articled with the firm of Walsh and McKay and practiced with the Attorney General's Department as a prosecutor until 1967, when he and my uncle formed their own firm, Wilder, Wilder & Associates, which later became Wilder, Wilder & Langtree. Together, they ran this firm until merging with PKF Lawyers in 2020. During his time as a lawyer, which was right until he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, during this time as a lawyer, which was right until he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, our father continued working. In his earlier years, he practiced in most areas of litigation, including criminal, domestic, and civil law. I still remember how excited we would get for him to come home and share a story from his day, always so proud, because although some lawyers would get bad reputations for making money off of other people's misfortune, our father lived up to the pillow that our mother needle pointed for him with those bold words stitched into it, honest lawyer. And he lived up to that description, doing pro bono work and even bringing in cheap child labor, us, to photocopy briefs until all hours of the night and weekends in order to keep that overhead down for his clients. In the 1980s, our father finally gave up criminal law after a few too many threats and scares to his and his family's life, who I believe he always felt were his most important asset. In fact, I can tell you the incident that was the final deciding factor. We were living in our house on Wellington Crescent, and at the time, unbeknownst to us, there had been enough threats that my parents placed a panic button inside their nightstand drawer that was supposed to ring right through to the alarm company. On that night, someone came to the door and unrelentlessly began banging the door and ringing the doorbell before making his way to the back of the house, picking up a rake, and taking it back to the front of the house, thankfully, to the door that had the thicker glass, instead of using it on the thinner glass in the back. The police were nowhere to be seen for quite some time, but once they got there, they decided that it was just a drunk individual who was looking for a bathroom and a payphone. Regardless, it was the catalyst for my father to decide that he didn't want to take any more risks like that, and he was going to direct his law efforts elsewhere. So instead of that exciting world of criminal law, our father's law career began focusing on the fields of personal injury, tort litigation, and insurance law. He also remained active in the fields of commercial litigation, class action suits, disability insurance, and labor law, and wrongful dismissal cases. And he showed us by example what it meant to be involved in community. Outside of just career and family, he was a bencher of the Law Society from 1984 to 1986, and then again from 1993 to 1996. He was an ethics examiner for the bar admissions course for articling students, served in many executive capacities for the Bar Association, served as board member of the Manitoba Law Foundation and Legal Aid Manitoba, was a member of the Court of King's Bench rules, I guess, hey? And case management committees, and even acted as an aside to the Lieutenant Governor of the acted as an aide to the Lieutenant Governor of the province of Manitoba at the time, the late Bud Jobin. In his more personal volunteering, our father served as president of the Jewish Child and Family Services, where he remained an honorary life member, acted as president, past board member, and honorary life board member of the Sherezetic Synagogue, and is a past board member and executive member of the Canadian Friends of the Hebrew University, the Winnipeg Jewish Theatre, the Manitoba Head Injury Association, and the Winnipeg Squash and Racquet Club. Every time, eh? His accomplishments and commitments were numerous, yet I'll tell you that nothing held a candle to his greatest and most gratifying accomplishment, which he always would have told you was his family. And that man he loved with all of his heart and all of his soul. And it wasn't just me, my brothers, mother, grandchildren, parents, or brother that he loved. He loved family, his whole family, whether blood family or chosen family. And he loved his friends. I know many of you can probably feel that love right now as I read these words, because he was a man who wasn't afraid to share his feelings or let you know how much he loved you. He couldn't hide that big heart of his, even if he tried. He was busy with career, but never too busy to be a present father. In fact, it was exactly the opposite. It wouldn't matter how busy he was. We were priority and could be patched through to him at the office with any problem at any time and be made to feel that we were the highlight and the most important thing to him in that moment. Growing up, he would work late on Monday nights, but on all other weeknights, he would sit down with us for dinner, needing to hear about what was going on with each of us and how our day was. He looked forward to family vacations, especially the road trips we would take in our green station wagon, making each of the even smallest adventures a big deal, as well as a teaching opportunity, having us look up facts of the attractions that we needed to see, even if that destination was only seeing the world's largest ball of twine. But even with all the places we traveled together, my dad's favorite place remained Winnipeg Beach, where over the past 20 years, he would call any one of us from the porch the morning after he arrived, just so we could hear him say, "Ah." He was also a Zeta extraordinaire, loving his grandchildren more than anything in the world, proud of each of them for their accomplishments, but even more importantly, proud of each of them just for who they were and are. So what will we miss most about my dad? I can tell you it's not going to be his dance moves. But other than that, I don't think that there's anything we won't miss. We're going to miss his kindness, his humor, his love, his smile. We're going to miss the father that he was, the husband he was, the grandfather he was, and each of you will miss him in whatever role he played in your life. So although we stand here before you doing the best we can to get through this eulogy without crying, we want us all to leave this service not focused on the sadness and void, but instead on the beautiful gifts that my father brought to each one of us. And we hope that you will take time to share some of these memories with us during his Shiva. Thank you so much.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much, Lisa, Jonathan, Raven, for standing up here, and Lisa for delivering those heartfelt and incredible words of tribute to your dad. In a moment, we will chant in Sam's honor the El Malei Rachamim, the traditional Jewish memorial prayer. After that, we will head to the Shered Zedek Cemetery for the conclusion of our service for the burial. Everyone is invited to join us. We will drive from the Chesed Shel to the cemetery with our four-way flashers on, and we remind people who will be joining us in the caravan that we stop at all red lights along the way as we go north on Main Street to Armstrong, turning left at Armstrong and then into the cemetery. After the conclusion of the service at the cemetery, there will be a meal of consolation at Congregation Etz Chaim, 123 Matheson Avenue East. And Lisa referenced the Shiva. The family will be sitting Shiva at Wendy's home, 180 Tuxedo, Suite 603, Sunday through Thursday. In the afternoons, from 1:30 to 4, and in the evenings from 7 to 9, again Sunday through Thursday. There will be prayers every evening at 7:30. I now invite you to rise for the El Malei Rachamim. El Malei Rachamim shochein v'meromi. Hamsei menucha nechona tachat kanfei hashchina. V'malot kedoshim uteorim kezohar arakia mazhirim et nishmat Yehoshua ben Yaakov v'Rachel shelach leolamo. Vegan edente menuchato anabal harachamim hasti reu beseter kenafecha leolamim utzror bitzror achaim enishmato Adonai hu nachalato v'yanuach v'shalom al mishkavo v'nomar amen. Exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure to the soul of Sam Wilder, who has gone to his eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that he find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May his soul be bound up in the bond of life. May he rest in peace. And together again let us say, Amen. Thank you again to everyone who is here. I ask that you remain standing as the pallbearers come forward and lead us out of the Chesed Shel Emes and on to the cemetery.